Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Joel Fernino got stuck in Chicago traffic, as has been known to happen from time to time. So he will be joining us here shortly. I got a text from him just a moment ago that he will be here any minute and is anticipating that he won't miss too much of the show tonight. So we do appreciate you sticking around through the delay here. We tried to hold off for him as long as we could. But any longer, and it would have kicked us out and not let us do the show at all. So in lieu of that, we are ready to go and have a good show planned for you tonight. It'll get better once Joel gets here. But in the meantime, let's just jump right in with the Detroit Red Wings. They are the only team without a regulation loss. And we'll get Joel's thoughts on this if the rebuild is officially over. But looking at their schedule, they do play tonight, puck drop any second now, as they are at home against the New Jersey Devils. Frankly, just looking at their rosters, their performances to start the season, to me, that is a very, very winnable game for Detroit, especially at home. In fact, they did just drop the puck. Devils are 3-3-0 on the season. Detroit is 3-0-2. The last team without a regulation loss, the Blues, the Red Wings, the Blues, the Penguins, and there was one other team in there as well, that the Dallas Stars, that all suffered their first regulation loss yesterday. So that left Detroit as the last team without a win in the NHL. So where does Detroit go from here? Is the rebuild over? I have to think that Detroit is certainly headed in the right direction. Looking at the way that this team is built, they really loaded up on talent in the offseason. Bringing in David Perron and Andrew Kopp to enhance the forward group. Ben Sherratt and Oli Mata are doing big things on the back end. Ville Husso and net, along with Alex Nedeljkovic, is a pretty good tandem, a relatively untested tandem. But for Detroit, that's kind of the situation that they're in right now. They are a team that hasn't been tested a lot because they haven't had playoff success in recent years. In fact, they haven't been to the playoffs very much in recent years. As far as calling the rebuild officially over, that's a little bit tricky. There's still a lot of talent in this pipeline. You see some of the younger guys. Marco Kasper, who was their first round pick this year, is basically a perfect fit for the Red Wings. And speaking of perfect fits, we have a second member to bring into our podcast.
Hello.
We're whole once again. Joel, welcome to the show tonight, buddy.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry about that. Google Maps said there was an accident on Lakeshore Drive. I didn't see an accident, so I just think people suck at driving.
That's very possible. You're a little quiet on the mic, but
hello.
That's better. Loud and clear now. I had a little bit of a rundown that I had texted you earlier, but with the change on our show, we're kind of mixing things up here a little bit. But wanted to jump in with the Detroit Red Wings. They are the last team without a regulation loss. Just kind of gave some rundowns on their numbers and looking at this roster. I was talking about some of their prospects coming up. Simon Edvinsson, a guy who is tearing things up at the AHL level right now. And in fact, I would think because he is someone who can be moved up and down without having to go through waivers, he would be one of those first players called up if there is an injury for Detroit. But they really have a solid prospect pipeline coming up. Sebastian Cossa, one of the top goaltending prospects, is on the way. Simon Edvinsson, a top 10 pick as a defenseman. Marco Kasper, a future number one center in this league, who is just your textbook Steve Yzerman draft pick, and the way that he built things up in Tampa Bay, like Kasper fits that role perfectly of what he expects from centers as he's building a team. Joel, is the rebuild over in Detroit?
I think it's safe to say yes. I think we're out of, because realistically, if it wasn't over, we would still be well, for one, we wouldn't be talking about they're the only team left without a regulation loss. That's one little minor fact there. But not to mention, I think we would be putting them in the category of, like, you still expect them to maybe this season be sellers at the deadline, for example, right? I don't expect that whatsoever. Not to mention, this rebuild started for them. Would it be fair to say 4 years ago, maybe 5?
About 3 or 4,
maybe
basically.
3 or 4, maybe 5's being a little too
retool everything. After they had a long stretch, I want to say it was 20-something years of consecutive playoff appearances.
Yep.
That came to an end a couple years ago. So
yeah, if anyone else is trying to sell you the fact that the Red Wings are still in their rebuild phase, you're being sold crap. They are definitely finally out of the rebuild phase. I'm not going to say now they're kind of in that, I don't want to call it limbo phase, but they're in that phase where, okay, now your expectations are not, we're like, their fans are going to be expecting some progress here. I mean, I have to equate it to like Bears fans, not like we're still in that rebuild. So like, we only want to see, sure, I don't care if we see losses as long as we see growth. Now Detroit is out of that stage.
Yeah.
Like
Chicago Bears are much earlier in their rebuild than
exactly.
the Detroit Red Wings.
You're going to see growth from all the young guys that you just mentioned. And that just tells me too, that their pipeline and their farm system is so refreshed that, they're going to get right back to what, we knew of the Detroit Red Wings of the late 90s and as well as the late 2000s.
Yeah, this is a team that, I mean, there's really a lot of star power, but even as you look at where the leading scorers are at this year, it's not necessarily the guys that you would have expected. In fact, without looking, do you know off the top of your head who their number one scorer is?
In terms of just points straight up?
Just points, straight up points.
Can you at least tell me if it randomly is a defenseman? Because I don't think it is.
It's not randomly a defenseman, okay. But there is a connection to a certain team that you cheer for.
Chelios doesn't have a son, right? He's only got a daughter, and she's on the Blackhawks broadcast.
It would be group. Dominic Kubalik is the leading scorer.
I forgot about. Yeah.
3 goals and 5 assists, so 8 points in 5 games. Leading goal scorer overall is David Perron, 4 goals on the season and 5 points there for him. But again, you look at these players that they brought in, and those are the ones making the impact. But you still have Dylan Larkin, who, as long as he is in Detroit, he will be a threat to be one of the top scorers on that program.
And he's also there, Jonathan Taves.
I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, he's the face of that franchise, and there's really not, no bones about it. Like he's there. They've got him. I believe they locked him up to a long-term deal. Yeah, I'll need to check that.
I mean, define long-term. It wasn't anything crazy. Like
actually, no, never mind. He's not. This is his contract year. So he will be an unrestricted free agent. So that man is about to get paid.
He is going to get paid by somebody. Maybe that's a nice little off-season topic if he's not signed by the time the playoffs hit.
I think during the regular season, they're going to let it go. Usually you don't get those types of contract talks during the season. It tends to be a little more, during the agent, through the agent at that point. So
I agree that's how it goes, but I disagree that that's how it should go.
I think
someone as important to your franchise, not just your team, your franchise, as Dylan Larkin.
Yeah. Oh, they'll figure out a way to get a deal done. I also fully expect it to be a max length 8-year deal when they sign that extension.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he is
somewhere in the
second.
I'm gonna just guess it's gonna be somewhere in the 9.5 to 10.5 AAV range.
I would think something like that. He's 26 now, so an 8-year deal carrying him through his age 34 season. You're still getting some prime years in there, and especially for a team that their window is opening more than it's closing. You can really afford to lock him up on that long of a deal. And knowing that it's going to be a high value deal, I would think, somewhere right around that $9 million mark is about where we would come in here. He's going to get paid. It's going to be deserved. And that's who you want leading this team out of the rebuild. That's why you kept him around. But now that you've started to kind of surround him with some of those players who you have playoff experience with David Perron. You have Andrew Kopp, who's kind of had a bit of a chip on his shoulder, is kind of an odd man out type situation with Winnipeg. Dominic Kubalik, who wasn't re-signed in Chicago. Ben Sherratt, who wasn't kept around in Montreal. Olimata, who's kind of bounced around a little bit. He was in Pittsburgh for a while. He was in LA for a while and hasn't really found a team. What?
He was here for a cup of coffee.
Yep. So again, like these are guys who have something to prove, and they are proving it so far this year for Detroit. So Yzerman really, I mean, what can you say about him? He knows how to build a team. I don't think he gets a GM of the Year award this year without, I think what's much more likely is that it is.
He gets it if they make the playoffs.
Maybe,
I'm calling my shot. He gets it if they make the playoffs.
My only exception to that would be if Colorado wins another cup and then they give it to Sakic.
See, but
they reward the result, not the process.
As opposed to every other one that doesn't give a shit about playoffs.
Because the thing is, like a GM in a given year, like it's the culmination of how you have built over the last few years and the moves that you have made.
But
I could see a move for Calgary's GM, depending what happens there. You lose Gaudreau and you trade away Kachuk, but you bring in Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar and you sign Kadri. I could see him being someone in the mix as well. That's a whole different conversation. We're trying to keep this on Detroit. But yeah, I mean, Yzerman should be in the mix here, especially over the next couple of years as Detroit's window continues to open. And, the guys he drafted to this team as well, bringing in Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider as your big young guns, your core that you're building around.
You said his name wrong. It's Lucas Raymond.
Oh, that's right. Draft night. He's French. Yep. He's French now.
He's French now. He's not actually French, disclaimer. Because I don't want people thinking that we're just claiming people are French.
It's a bit. We do it for the bit.
Damn right we do it for the bit. All right. Are we also just doing the Red Wings for the bit?
Red Wings for the bit. Let's do Canucks for the bit as well. Going to the opposite end of the spectrum where the Detroit Red Wings were the last team without a regulation loss. The Vancouver Canucks are still without a win. And looking at that scoreboard,
shot our predictions out of the water.
It's a tough spot for them to be in. I mean, I thought Vancouver would compete for a playoff spot this year.
I saw a tweet that I'm curious if you would agree with.
Go ahead.
The 2022-2023 Vancouver Canucks so far are the 2021-2022 Chicago Blackhawks. Where there was kind of they could be pretty decent, but they also might be kind of mid. And then it turned out, oh God, this is abysmal right now.
I disagree. I felt that Chicago last year was going to be brutal from the jump. I did not get that type of feeling about the Canucks.
You felt that.
Look at who all is on this team. You have Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Bo Horvat, your core that you're building around.
I know.
Top. You had built up your back end with your young guns there. Building around Rathbone, building around Quinn Hughes. They have all those young guys in place. Demko. I mean, the core is there. Chicago last year did not have a core there that you were like, yes, they're still building around that and they can be a playoff team.
Kane, Taves, DeBrincat, Seth
Jones, they were plus 5,000 to make the playoffs at the start of the year.
Marc-Andre Fleury. The defense was not there. And technically in Vancouver, the defense really isn't there outside of Quinn Hughes.
They were plus 5,000, the Hawks were, to start the year last year.
What were the Canucks to start or to win the cup this year?
Not to win the cup, to make the playoffs.
All right, what are the Canucks?
I'll take a look right now.
Or what were, not are. Well, actually,
now
it might be worse.
Knowing what they are, they probably are worse now. I would certainly think so, but to get an accurate number here, let's go to.
And I guess I should preface that tweet was also in the form of not literally like you're taking it, but more of from the fan aspect. Like a Canuck fan right now is probably feeling like how we felt last year, where it was like, man, there's a little hope here, maybe. And all of a sudden the start comes out and you're like, oh God, what the hell is happening?
Canucks right now to make the playoffs plus 220, make it yes, minus 280, no. As far as winning the cup, they're plus 7,000.
You know what?
So
I put money on them to win the cup.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, if that hits.
You keep saying that and you keep giving them your money.
So what?
Must be nice.
I'm fueling I'm fueling degenerates around the world. No, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
Don't bet on the Canucks to win the Stanley Cup. That'd be disgusting. Unless you want to bet like 50 cents on it to win whatever that math is.
They'll have a minimum bet of probably like $5 to require that. They wouldn't let you throw like 50 cents on it.
I mean, I bet 50 cents on stuff.
Well, but I'm guessing again, though.
It's stupid stuff, but it's 50 cents.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway,
Back to Vancouver here. This is a team that through their first 4 games, they had multi-goal leads and blew those multi-goal leads and lost. So as far as seeing that the talent is there.
So they're the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, that's a better comparison. They're the Atlanta Falcons finding themselves up 28-3 in multiple games this season and finding a way to just fall apart. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. To you, when a team has that lead and then gives it up, does that fall more on the players or more on the coaches?
I think. Whoa! I'm getting full screen time. Bless you, sir.
I tried to mute. I tried to do that off camera and be sneaky about it, and it didn't work.
Don't mute. Sneeze for the bit. It honestly kind of depends. I mean, for something like that, it comes down to it's 50-50 in a way to me. I think you have to really be watching the game to kind of make that determination of who truly gets the blame for that. Like, yeah, you could, if you're watching the game and you're like, dude, the players are just dogging it on every shift now. Like if what is it? The 2-goal lead, and hell, even recently now we've seen in some recent seasons, the 3-goal lead is like the worst lead in hockey.
Yeah, that's the old adage, but usually like a pretty strong percent of the time, the 2-goal lead holds up. I mean, it's,
early, like if you're going up 2 or 3 in the first period,
it's still historically
historically
around 75 to 80% when you get the 2-goal lead, you win.
Even when you have a juggernaut of a team, though, like I all those seasons that we were contending and we would go up 2 goals, 3 goals, even though I knew like we had the best defense in the league, hands down, I still sat there and I was like, I'm nervous. I don't like this 2-goal lead. To answer your question, I'd probably lean towards the players, because it's to me that becomes a mentality thing. Now, again, that you could argue right there that wouldn't that be a coaching thing? Then the coach has to kind of rally the troops and be like, guys, keep the foot on the gas pedal here. Like, I don't care if we're up 6-0. Like, don't let up. 60-minute effort, but I don't know. I think it kind of comes. I think it's 50-50 to me. I don't really put a blame on either of them, especially this early in the season.
I am a Bruce Boudreau guy. We know that. We've mentioned that on the show before.
It's also why I leans towards the players. I love Bruce.
I can't say that he's not 100% at fault by any stretch, but he can't be at 0% either. There has to be some degree of accountability within the team and within the players, the coaches. It's everybody being bought in, and right now, for whatever reason, something is off that is causing that to not be the case. And you see the goaltending stats. Both goaltenders have a save percentage below 900 and a goals against average above a 375. Spencer Martin is 379 and Thatcher Demko is 406. Demko is too good a goalie to be putting up those types of numbers. That's going to change. Defensively, I mean, something's got to change here. And yeah, the JT Miller deal is looking really bad to start the season, but he's also their leading goal scorer. He's got 4 goals on the season. And yeah, the defensive numbers haven't been there, but he's putting up the numbers offensively that he's supposed to do. The other leading scorers on the team, Elias Pettersson with 7 points, Bo Horvat with 6, Quinn Hughes with 5, Brock Besser with 4. Those are the guys that you're counting on to be leaders of your team, and they're doing that. So it's kind of, is it the ancillary pieces? Is it the depth that is just falling apart? The back end isn't there? What's really going on? To me, I think the biggest issue is the way the defense is built.
And that's kind of like to what I mentioned too. Like, aside from Quinn Hughes, can you really point out any true solid star defenseman on their back end?
I mean, depending what you want to call Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and
At
depending
this
what you want to
point,
call Tyler Myers.
Tyler Myers at this point to me is just, the tall defenseman that doesn't really work out. Maybe that's a hot take, but
He hits everything that moves, but houses
yeah,
his own coverage.
exactly. Like you can hit everything until you're blue in the face, but once you're going up against those faster guys that you're not going to be able to hit because you're not going to catch, doesn't matter. And then Ekman Larson. At a time, we were always like, dude, like I would love to have him on my team, but he's stuck on Arizona or at the time Phoenix. And now it's come to the point where like he's just kind of like that long forgotten defenseman that he's become a journeyman at this point in a way, and kind of sucks. I feel bad for him because he was so good in his own end. He had some good offensive years too, but now he's kind of getting a little too old. I think he's what? How old is Oliver Ekman-Larsson?
He is 31. Still signed for another 4 years after this one.
Well, it's kind of unfortunate that I'm saying that. I'm going to stick to it because technically this is the prime of a defenseman's career. Like that 28 to 32 range is usually
should be, but right now it's not. So that's
exactly.
That's tough. Looking at their schedule, their next game is Thursday night at Seattle. To me, that's where it ends. That's where their losing streak ends.
Seattle's frisky. I'm saying it. Seattle's frisky.
They've got a chance here to go on a little bit of a run because they're going to get home against Pittsburgh, which will be a tough game, but home against New Jersey, home against Anaheim. To me, those are 2 wins that the Canucks should be getting. They have a Northeast road trip coming up at Ottawa, at Montreal, at Toronto, at Boston, at Buffalo. So 5-game getaway there, but they should be coming out of that with, I would think, maybe 2-2-1, maybe 3-2, somewhere around there.
That Anaheim one intrigues me from a betting perspective. I actually would throw a bet on the Ducks for that one.
That will be a very interesting matchup. The other thing is Anaheim plays Wednesday night, so they're catching Anaheim on the second back-to-back.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect as well. I do think they pick up a win Thursday and get it figured out. I bet they string a few together here. I think it's a bit of a tough go out of the gate, and it really shouldn't have been because you look at these games. At Edmonton, okay, probably a loss. At Philadelphia, that should have been a win. At Washington, again, you had the 2-goal lead there and you lost 6-4. Losing in overtime to Columbus and Minnesota. Teams that on paper they probably should have beat. A 5-1 loss in the home opener against Buffalo. That's bad.
Oh, that's horrible.
But their most recent game yesterday was a 3-2 loss at home to Carolina. And Carolina is a lot better than Buffalo this year.
Actually, I say that's horrible, but Buffalo's 4-1.
Buffalo is off to a surprisingly good start. And I think maybe that'll be a talker for next week is how good are the Buffalo Sabres really. But as far as Vancouver goes,
yeah.
If you had to bet today on would Vancouver make the playoffs, knowing that they're dead last right now because they don't have a win, knowing that you've got to get by, well, your top 4 are probably Calgary, Edmonton, LA, and Vegas.
LA.
Those are probably ALA. Your top 4.
If we're talking from a straight up betting perspective, no, I'm not betting them to make the playoffs at plus 280. That's not worth it.
But this guy was ready to drop plus 7,000 on him to win the cup.
It's a futures. I was also only going to drop like $5. Not even actually. It probably only would have been like $1.
Whichever.
But I think I don't know if you had any other thoughts on the Canucks but you mentioned something that might be a segue in general into. Because we were just talking about like Buffalo or the slow start for the Canucks this year, I guess in particular for me, more than the last few has kind of really shown the parity of this league and how you just, no matter how much research you do, at least at the start of the season, you can't call shit. Like we cannot anticipate anything.
No,
Buffalo being 4-1, the Blackhawks being in a playoff spot right now at 3-2.
Yeah, the Detroit being the last undefeated team.
Well, okay, maybe not the last.
Or not undefeated, but undefeated in regulation.
But we kind of knew Detroit was going to take a much bigger step this year.
We knew they'd take a step forward. We didn't think they were going to take that big a step forward.
Dallas leading the Central Division right now.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming at all. Buffalo being in the 3rd seed in the Atlantic right now. Philly fighting with Pittsburgh and Carolina atop of the Metro right now. Ottawa being in a wild. Actually, we thought Ottawa.
You thought Ottawa was making the playoffs. I thought they were like the last team out.
Yep, and I'm still sticking with that card. There's just so many different things, and hell, this one's been. I'm sorry, I'm not doing this to mess with you, even though 99% of the time I do. Minnesota being 1-3 and 1-3-1. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all early, but this is the most fun time to kind of Monday morning quarterback the NHL because we're 5, 6, 7 games in. Really, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I have a rant about our weird start, but I didn't know what you wanted to talk about next.
Well, I'll tell you this: the Wild are up 1-0 on the Canadians right now. Julien Senek with the goal there.
I was going to pick him up in fantasy. Damn it!
The Devils up 2-1 on the Red Wings right now. So
that's the thing. I think that's why I say the rebuild window was over, or it is over. But I think they're still in that phase where they're going to lose those games where it's okay, well, in a year or two, you should be winning that game. This year, I would cut them a little slack for losing those games that maybe they should win in a couple of years.
Well, and I would say New Jersey has really underperformed out of the gate too. So
they're another one though. They're kind of like a Detroit, but they're not out of their rebuild. If you were to ask me that same question about Detroit about the Devils, I would answer completely differently.
Oh, totally. I think Detroit's prospect pipeline right now is much better. I think the Devils have hit on some really good early draft picks, but outside of your guys like Hughes and Heischer, you haven't had the same development that you thought you were going to get. The Dougie Hamilton free agent signing hasn't quite worked out like you thought it would. Granted, he was hurt.
He got hurt.
That happens. You can't be ready for that.
Yeah.
But Ryan Graves hasn't been what you thought you were getting when you traded for him out of Colorado. It really hasn't pulled together. Mackenzie Blackwood has kind of there's a lot of hype around his game, and he hasn't really shown that he can live up to that.
No, totally. I really quick have to bring up. I think I told you before the show. I had a little bit of a mini rant.
Oh, go ahead.
Not rants. It's a very quick 2 to 3 minute little thing.
Fire away. I'll full screen you for this.
Okay, I guess. Go ahead.
Joel's rant. Ready, go.
So we were just talking about the Wild and their very off-putting slow start, and vice versa. Like the Chicago Blackhawks, man, we start out 3-2. We sit solidly, and I say solidly, but literally tied for the first wild card spot in the Western Conference. And I think the thing is I've watched some of the games. I didn't get a chance to watch their first 2 games because I was in Florida, but I watched replays of all their games. I watched the last couple of games. I watched the most recent. I watched the Kraken game. This team under Luke Richardson is just playing so well, and it's where is this coming from? Because it really is a bunch of no names. I could list off the names right now that aren't no names because I'm a fan. Everyone else would be like, who the hell are you talking about? Like Sam Lafferty. Most people, I mean, you know who I'm talking about, but no one really knows. No one's going to know that name, and yet I'm pretty sure he's leading the league in shorthanded goals right now. Which is actually so are the Blackhawks in general. We are apparently leading the league in shorthanded goals right now. It's interesting. Our special teams have been insane. I saw a couple tweets. One of them was like, man, I'm a little interested to see like if Luke Richardson had a full season of our roster last year, like would we have been fighting for that 1 or 2 wild card spot as opposed to just middle, or pretty much towards the basement of the Central. But I think my rant, I guess, that comes in here is we should probably slow down. There are people saying like, man, are we gonna contend for this wild card spot? Back up. We're 5 games in. We're playing great under a new head coach, and I think all we need to really think about is, hey, this new head coach clearly is showing it shows to me we have a bright future ahead, and I think maybe even this is an overreaction, but I think if it continues to trend like this, where we're not, fighting for first overall, but we're fighting for, a top 10 pick, let's just say, right? Like, to me, that's just as promising as if we got, 1 or 2 overall and got Bedard or Fantilli is his name, right? Or Fantilli.
Adam Fantilli, yeah. He's probably
the solid number 2, most likely.
He's my number 3 prospect overall, but I think he'll end up going second only because Matvei Michkov, as being a Russian player, and kind of what we saw this offseason where some issues with Russian players and the conflict in Ukraine. Plus, Russia doesn't have a great track record of players who are on KHL contracts and getting them over to the U.S. to play. I should say North America to play. It's mostly been U.S. teams that have been affected by it, but it's North America. I should correct that. But yes, that's it's been an issue. I think he could slide a little bit, but probably I think those are your top 2. Bedard goes 1, Fantilli goes 2. If I had to make a bet on it today, that would be my bet.
No, that's fair. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I saw another tweet. I did love it. It was funny because to me it's like, right now we're one of 2 things. Our early reaction to the fact that we're 3-2 to start the season. Luke Richardson, I think, is going to be I'm hoping is like maybe not the next Joel Quenneville, but something similar. Like, I want him. I'm hoping he's around for the long haul because he seems like the real deal from a coaching perspective. But we're kind of one of 2 things here. We're either, oh wow, like, all right, our kids that we sent up, along with gaining the assets we're going to gain over the course of the next season or so, maybe this rebuild isn't as long term as we were expecting, or it's simply just, man, we really suck at sucking.
I mean, you look at the games that they've played, their regulation losses are 5-1 at Colorado and 1-0 against Vegas.
2 conference final contending teams.
Right. The wins are San Jose, who one win this season.
Yep.
And Seattle. And then the overtime game against Detroit.
Yep. So Detroit really is the only good team we beat.
And again, that was the home opener for the Hawks in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, and I'm checking this right now to make sure. Actually, no, that one wasn't a back-to-back for Detroit. But yeah, so Chicago's going to have a tough spot coming up here. Their next 3 games are against Florida, Edmonton, and then Buffalo, who we mentioned is off to a hot start.
Our next game is in less than an hour.
They get the Wild on Sunday.
Which is apparently a special at the United Center. It's like a Halloween-themed game.
Oh.
So, sounds kind of fun to go to. Probably won't go, but it sounds kind of fun.
I mean, you got to do something to get the people in the seats. I would think
that
would be if only I say that because it is a Sunday game at 7:00.
The night before Halloween.
The night before Halloween. So you got to do something to get people there.
You're right. But this next run here of the next few games is we're gonna start seeing what we were expecting to see.
Yeah.
But right now, the fact that we're not fighting for the basement is, it's like a combo of encouraging, but also crap. I would have really liked to have Bedard. And hey, maybe we still get him. Who knows?
If Bedard ends up in Chicago,
You've already said
a
it.
long walk off a short pier.
Oh, wow. That was. I'm sorry. I didn't know you turned 50.
Yep. Well,
I think your original quote was you're going to quit the NHL if the Hawks get Bedard.
I hope I don't have to find out what I would do if the Hawks got Bedard.
I'd love to find out what you'd do if the Hawks got
I bet you would. Speaking of things that we love some of these new reverse retro jerseys.
Oh hell yeah, let's go retro!
And thankfully, I was able to find a graphic here. So I apologize to those who are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and are just listening to this. Do encourage you to go, do a quick Google search and look these up because some of these are really sweet. We're gonna put those up on the screen right now here and take a look. I mean, these are just incredible. There are some
cool.
Some of these are real big winners, and other of these, some of them really not so much. And you and I disagree on some of these as well.
We're going to get into that, but I think overall, I would say a solid, my math is probably wrong here, but I would say a solid like 85 to even 90% of these are awesome or at least decently cool. There's really only a couple that are like, that's disgusting. And that's where we disagree on which ones are disgusting.
I will start by saying I believe that this year's crop of reverse retro jerseys better as a whole than last year's crop.
We agree on that. Could not agree more. Some of last year's were terrible. Dallas's last year, they just seemed lazy,
atrocious last year. And while Dallas, I still don't think it's a great one this year. It is so much better than last year.
Yeah, I love their newer logo. Like that old Stars logo. I get it for the history. It makes sense, but I love their newer logo. So their colors are always going to do it for me. So that jersey's still pretty cool, but
this is narrowcasting for HP here. I'm lighting the beacon because we haven't seen a comment from him the whole show. I'm just glad that they didn't use the North Stars logo, and Norm Green still sucks. Throw that out there.
I do want to say, I didn't put it in my list, but your guy, the Wilds are sharp.
They are.
I like those. What?
They're the inverse of what they did for last year's. Yeah, so they've got the home and away. I like it. I won't say I love it, but I do like it a lot. But it's not among my 5 favorites, which might come as a surprise to people. But there are a few others on here that I like even more. I absolutely love the Florida Panthers jersey, which if you're looking at the screen right now, that's that one in the top left. And the one right next to it as well. I love that baby blue for jersey. It's a great color as a whole. Love the logo as well with Florida. Like for me, like that's just a sweet. I want to get that jersey, and I am not a Panthers fan. Like I would genuinely have to think about which player I would want to get that as a jersey.
Sure I want like half of these jerseys.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Just to add to the collection. Michelle is giving me a look from the other room as I'm talking about getting these jerseys and knowing the cost as we've got a wedding coming up. So
I will get you the Florida Panthers one as a wedding gift, even though Michelle can't relish in said gift. But
it's a good thing that I have headphones in for this conversation. So we'll leave it at that.
Is that better or worse than me offering to get you a PS5 for your wedding?
Probably worse because the PS5 she would still use to stream shows and whatnot. So,
all right. So, okay.
I mean, who do you, Joel? I got to ask, who is your biggest winner on these jerseys?
My personal, and I ended up choosing 2, so my top. Absolutely for me is the Anaheim Ducks. That jersey is so sick. Like that color scheme with of course, the Mighty Ducks logo. I don't know. I just think they killed it. Like I know it's usually a cop out to say them. Everyone always wants the Mighty Ducks logo. Some of their old Mighty Ducks jerseys are kind of meh, including one of the main ones. It's like a tealish.
I want them to bring back the eggplant one, the eggplant colored, like the purplish.
Oh yeah.
Base with the Mighty Ducks. Like if they had done that, like I would have lost my mind.
See, like that one's all right. To me, it's all right.
It's iconic.
I know it is, but just like the color scheme, for me, the biggest theme of my favorite ones are the color schemes. Like that one in particular, that Anaheim Ducks one is just so sick looking. And I only picked the Ducks as my top because technically it's more historic. There's more history behind it, and it's literally retro. Whereas my second one, dude, that Seattle Kraken jersey is friggin' amazing. That thing is sick, but just off principle alone, because it is their first season, so it's not really retro.
Yeah, reversing it back to 2 years ago when they first released their jerseys.
But even still, and quite frankly, now I'm kind of talking myself off the ledge off of principle alone. I could switch my 1 and 2 easily. That Kraken jersey is sick. I want that jersey so badly. And then I think an honorable mention for me was what did I say? An honorable mention? Oh, I said my honorable mention was Florida, but we just talked about it. So I think even aside from that, another honorable mention, like they just got it so right, is the where is it? I just lost it. Where'd it go? Believe it or not, it's like a tie between the New York, the Rangers, and the Coyotes. Believe it or not.
The Coyotes, I think they've just been rocking these reverse red. I like last year's better, the purple Kachina jersey. I like that one a lot better, but this one is still good.
Yeah, I just like how it really feels like a desert. I could do with or without the older Coyotes logo. I mean, it looks kind of funny. It literally looks like a cartoon dog, but I get it. That's what it was. Those are probably it for me. I mean, what are your top before we get to our worst?
Well, we got a comment here that I want to shout out here. The City Life Project. That's our buddy Isha. The Jets, Florida, and San Jose are his winners. Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets, Jets love a lot. The throwback on the logo. San Jose, I like theirs a lot. And this is one that you and I disagree on. I absolutely love the throwback to the Seals jerseys. But with the Sharks, keeping the font and everything too, to me, as a jersey snob,
I agree with Isha's next comment here.
Yeah, Isha's saying Boston's good too.
The Boston one is sick.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I love it. I really do, and I feel the same way about the Kings that you also don't like. For me, it's just the iconic jersey. They're the Kings. I don't like their, what is it, like a shield crest type logo that just says Los Angeles or Kings on it.
I don't like the crown. That's dumb.
I love it. You got to have something that no other team could put that on their jersey and have it make sense.
I get it, but okay, I guess we just gave it away. But yeah, so actually they could. The Sacramento Kings could. Anyway.
No other NHL team could. And one last one I want to mention as well: the Washington Capitals. I always love it.
I totally agree. That thing is, but this one in particular, the Screaming Eagle is fun, but this one just this mostly black, get a little bit of red and blue in there. That's sick.
Isha with a good point here. Kings are great, but the arm stripe is terrible.
Yes. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Remember what I said? The theme is color scheme. And the way that the colors, so you gave away my least favorite ones. The color schemes and how they mesh with the Kings and the Sharks jerseys are just gross to me. The Sharks one, I get it. The Seals jerseys, those are cool and all, but just the colors alone and how they're just thrown to get it literally just looks like somebody threw paint at the thing. The throwback.
You should say the throwback Kings logo is beautiful, but the arm stripes on all jerseys are gross. Agreed on Caps. Yeah. Yeah.
The way the lengthwise arm stripe or whatever.
Isha, well, I've got you here. Let me ask how you feel about the Wilds and the Canucks, those two in particular. I want to get your thoughts on here. Joel, while we're waiting on that response, the Gorton's Fisherman logo back for the Islanders. Are you yay or nay?
I don't. I don't know. I was trying to think about this when I was really studying these, and the jersey itself, really like it. So it's solid, solid color scheme, solid, stripe placement and everything. I feel like I like the Gorton's Fisherman logo. It's kind of funny. I think that is partially what these reverse retros go for in a way, right? Like, I like it. I'm curious what you think, though.
I thought that jersey always got a bad rap just because of how bad the team was when they were wearing those jerseys.
I mean,
So
yeah.
there is that aspect to it. But I kind of in a weird way I like that jersey. And I think certainly for what they could have done for that jersey with that logo, it certainly could have been a lot worse.
I can also you've kind of talked me slightly into the Kings a little bit. So I can actually maybe change my least favorite. Sharks stay there. That one's disgusting looking.
Wait till you see this comment from Isha before you decide.
All right, no, go ahead.
Seals need white skates, preferably lead painted. If they do that, does that bump them up your rankings? Isha, your comments tonight are...
You know what? Yes. Simply the lead paint. If we go lead paint, then I can get them up a couple notches. But I think also, I mean, have we called out Calgary's? Calgary's are sick.
I like Calgary's for the most part. It's that bottom band that to me is weird around the waist.
And that was probably the biggest thing that like detracted me from putting it in like my top 5. But also, I will call out for Joey. Joey, sadly, our friend Joey could not watch the live stream tonight. He'll be listening. Shout out Joey. Mm-hmm. He would definitely be calling out the Predators, bringing back the Sabretooth. He loves those. I actually do kind of like them too. Blues jerseys are disgusting. Get them out of here. I think the one other call out is how Detroit basically tried to take ours, but it literally looks like somebody just took a plain red jersey and ran it over with a tire.
Yeah, my tweet on that when they released those
that was solid.
It was pretty good, I thought. Hey, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just change up the answers so it looks a little different.
Like
ours, that's kind of what it was.
Ours definitely.
Isha said, "Wow, this is lazy," which I understand based on what they did last year and how it's basically just flopping the colors.
I definitely can see the laziness. Ooh, what do we got? Canucks should have went stick and rink.
Yeah, the stick and rink logo. I would have liked that.
Their AHL team just launched Johnny Canucks last year, so it's just lazy. They use that for marketing rather than cap off the true reverse retro. That's a good point.
Yeah, Abbotsford is because they just switched to using that like as their main full-time logo. Which, by the way, plugging our AHL show, that's coming up here at 8:30. So stay tuned to that, American Beauties. Check it out on Twitter.
Oh yeah, and they are beauties. Yeah, I don't know. I think these are sick. I'm excited to start seeing these pop up. I'm slowly really liking ours. Ours is truly retro. Like that's like 40s era.
Yeah, that's really digging deep into the barrel for your reverse retro jerseys there.
But I like at first I saw it and didn't like study it, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. It's fine. But then I saw like the logo on the shoulders, and I don't know what it is about that, but I love that.
All right, let's get into our Wednesday night picks segment here. Both of us went 2-1 last week. We both
parlay, man.
Both had St. Louis beating Seattle. That was great. You had Colorado -1.5. Winnipeg won that game in overtime. But I had the worst bad beat of all time with the Philadelphia Flyers scoring with 1.9 seconds left to break the plus 1.5 or the -1.5 cover for Florida. Scoring with 1.9 to go to wreck that. I mean, that hurt. That was a stinger.
I don't think I've cheered louder for a team that isn't my own.
You were so happy to get that cover, and I was heartbroken.
It ultimately ended because I had it parlayed, and I was like, dude, if that's how this starts, I got this in the bag. And of course, Colorado and their Stanley Cup hangover failed me. So
I do like this though. We've got you back to 500 on the season, 50-35 overall. I am 4-2 on this season and 3 above 500. So we're both on the right side where we need to be. Let's get into our games. And there are some real beauties. There's only 3 on the schedule tomorrow, so we'll get to talk about them all.
yeah.
But this first one to me screams game of the night. The Battle of New York. We got the Rangers, we got the Islanders. Rangers are minus 105 on the money line, Islanders minus 115. Part of that is the Rangers are playing Colorado tonight. So Igor Shesterkin gets the start in that one. They probably, I would think, would go to their backup goaltender Yaroslav Halak for
My God, he's still playing
for game 2. Yeah, he is. That's their backup goaltender.
That man is ancient.
He's been around the block. In fact, he spent 4 years with the Islanders, so 37 and still hanging around, still putting up some halfway decent numbers. So
yeah, I already know who I'm taking. I could care less about backup goalies or not. I'm taking the Rangers.
see, I'm gonna go Islanders. I like the idea of the Islanders at home. Ilya Sorokin is an elite goaltender, and I think if you can catch a Rangers team tired on the second night of a back-to-back, beyond just the fact that we would expect a backup goalie, it's just the having played before, and then you're traveling again. Even if, well, let me check it, because if tonight's game is in New York, that's at least not as bad for travel. Okay, it is. It is in New York, so travel isn't as bad. But again, you're still playing Colorado, who could that be a Stanley Cup final preview? Possibly.
Maybe.
Philip Hedl, the only name on the injury report for the Rangers. Islanders, no names on the injury report there. I'm going to go Islanders here just to be different. I like them at home as well. So we'll agree to disagree here. Next game, the Edmonton Oilers minus 115 at St. Louis Blues minus 105. This one, again, could be your game of the night, but I think where, Rangers Islanders is kind of a lower scoring affair. This one could be a 6-5 type of shootout type of game, and just running up the score. Joel, who you got in this one?
Oh man, this one's tough. It's so hard to tell. I mean, the Blues have played 2 fewer games. They're 3-1. Edmonton's 3-3. Oh man, I'm gonna let you go first on this one. I'm actually kind of undecided. I've been thinking about this one all day, and I still haven't decided.
Yeah, this is another tough one. Neither of these teams playing tonight, so both teams coming in fresh.
They have the
Blues,
exact same goal differential too, at +2.
Yeah, the Blues have kind of had I would say a little bit of an easier start to the season just because they haven't played as many games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one's tough. I think I'm going to go Blues. When in doubt, I'm going to go with the home team. But it wouldn't surprise me either way. McDavid, Draisaitl, you know what you're getting. The Blues, a little bit more of a wild card with what they're going to bring to the table, but I think a little bit better defensively as a team than Edmonton, and they're at home. So I'm going to go Blues on this one.
I'm going to go Edmonton.
Okay.
Again, I'm picking 2 away teams, which is not usually smart, but I don't know. I feel a little better about it.
Well, let's see, because I have a feeling you're about to go 3 for 3 on away games here, because the final game of the night is the Tampa Bay Lightning at the Anaheim Ducks. Now, one to consider here, though, is, again, like what we saw with the Rangers, Lightning are playing tonight. They're in ALA playing the Kings. The Ducks are not in action tonight. So that's still, on paper, Tampa Bay is a better team, but if you catch a team on an off night, and especially on the second night of back-to-back, anything can happen there.
Yeah. Man, Man, Tampa is off to a sluggish start.
They really are.
3-3. I mean, I wasn't putting them in the Stanley Cup final anyway, but like, it's kind of sluggish for their standards.
Oh, definitely by their standards, for sure.
Man, Anaheim's off to a much worse start. You're right. I think I'm just going to go for the away team sweep. Let's go with Tampa Bay.
And guess what? I'm going home team sweep. I'm taking Anaheim plus 140. Try and make a little extra money on that one. Do what we can there. Hang on, we're getting some.
That's the first time
we got spammed here in the comments here, so we had to.
Woo! We love. Okay, not we love spam. I don't want to say that.
We love comments. We hate spam.
We love being spammed with legitimate comments. Please don't try and sell me.
You don't want to know what this one was. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, I want to see it though. I'll look on the actual Facebook.
We'll see if it actually lets them show up. I put them in timeout. I'm going to go with the Anaheim Ducks here. Yeah, I can do that. That's a thing.
Wait, but I want to read it. You don't have to show it. I want to read it though. I love drama. I love messing with trolls. Were they trying to reach out about our car's extended warranty?
We'll say that and keep it above bar.
Oh boy.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, back to hockey. Anaheim. I don't know, man. I feel like they just dropped the Mighty Ducks jersey. That's got to be some kind of, good juju, right?
They're not wearing it.
Yeah, they will be soon.
And they also announced
too much longer here. Anaheim 1-4-1 minus 14 goal differential this season, which is
their ass kicked.
Yeah. It's been bad, but I think a chance to regroup and play at home and take advantage there because they started 5 of their first 6 were on the road. They had a home opener and then a 5-game road stand. Their one win came at home. So
picking them to regroup against Tampa.
A tired Tampa Bay squad after a road trip where you got the time off and they didn't. Yeah, I'm going to take a fresh Anaheim squad that is in need of a regroup.
If that happens, I will Venmo you 50 cents.
Deal. So to recap our picks of the night, I am taking the Anaheim Ducks at home tomorrow night. Joel is taking the road Tampa Bay Lightning. I am taking the St. Louis Blues. Joel is taking the Edmonton Oilers. And I am taking the Islanders at home. Joel is taking the New York Rangers. Joel, for the first time this season, we could have a 3-0 and 0-3 performance heading into next week.
Yes, we could.
Something that we haven't had since even to the end of last season. I think the last couple, we still had a few where we, multiple weeks we were ending up on 2 of the 3 or all 3 as the same picks.
I just wish I could go back to my 3 weeks in a row of going, what was it, 3-0? It was like 4-0, 3-0, and 5-0.
Yeah, you had one stretch, and that's what really broke open. I'll put our all-time scores back up, the 50-46. So you've got 4 more wins, but you've also got 8 fewer losses, which really, shows things off for where the difference in where we were at. Part of that was shows that you couldn't make where we had guests on, so you see those guests on the screen there as well. But yeah,
it's going to be, I remember last season being similar, like those first couple of weeks, at least on my end, it was literally all over the place. It was 1-2, 2-1, similar to what just happened the first 2 weeks here. I think there was one, I think I had an 0-3. I think I definitely had
we've each had a couple of 0-3s.
Yeah. So once we hit like that 1 month in mark, things start to take a little more shape.
Yeah. Oh, and then when we're going, tonight we just did all straight ups, but then when we've got puck lines in there to deal with as well,
I was hoping you were going to do that because I was looking at the games beforehand and I'm like, I don't know if you can really. I would not touch any of those games on the puck line.
No, 0 chance because and the value isn't there.
No, exactly
on the puck line.
Hell, the value isn't even there on 2 of those 3 games. We only had plus odds on 1 game.
It's slim. It's really slim. And maybe if the line shifts a little bit, you might be able to get the Rangers at plus money, depending what happens tonight. You might be able to get the Blues at plus money. But unlikely, I would say, at this point. I feel like the NHL lines don't really move as much as certainly basketball or football.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah. 2 minutes for roughing. Do you want to take a 2 minutes for roughing since I had the start of the show without you, or I can do it? Your call either way.
No, by all means. You said you had one, and I was very intrigued from the get-go to hear this one. So, and if it's anywhere where I think it's going, I mean, I can add to it after you're done.
Well, I don't know where we think it's going, but we'll see what we got here.
You sent me a. Oh wow, were those unrelated then? Because you sent me.
No, they were. I tried to string you along here a little bit.
I was
just throw the 2 minutes on the clock, and we'll get into it.
Okay, I was like, what the hell? Don't bullshit a bullshitter. Just kidding. I don't bullshit. I only tell truths.
Allegedly.
Only truths. All right, ready?
Let's do it.
3, 1, go.
All right. So one of the things that really stood out to me in last night's NHL action was the Edmonton Oilers beating the Pittsburgh Steelers 6-3 in Edmonton.
Pittsburgh Steelers?
Or did I say Steelers? Pittsburgh Penguins. I almost want to. I want to stop this bit and start it over. Let's reset the clock.
We can reset the clock.
This is the first time in the history of 2 minutes for roughing that we've restarted the clock.
Hey, it's okay. I forgot that Kenny Pickett was starting a net last night for the.
We had a false puck drop. Had to reset the game clock, a timing issue. So
puck was dropped unfairly.
Yep. So we'll regroup. We'll do it again. Count me in again, please.
Mitch Trubisky would have thrown that ball perfectly.
Mitch Trubisky would have thrown the puck into the 12th row.
It's true.
All right, let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
So one of the things that really stood out to me in last night's NHL action was the 6-3 win for the Edmonton Oilers over the Pittsburgh Penguins. That game played in Edmonton. And at one point at the end of the game, someone who appeared to be a Pittsburgh fan threw a Penguins jersey onto the ice. Leon Draisaitl scooped up the jersey and launched it back into the crowd. But I would like the record to show that the Pittsburgh Penguins are 4-1-1 on the season. It was their first regulation loss of the season, and a fan threw a jersey onto the ice. Now, in general, other than for a hat trick, I am against throwing anything of any kind onto the ice. Maybe another exception for if you're doing the teddy bear toss. But other than that, fans in the crowd should never be throwing anything at any time onto the playing surface. We've seen it in Philadelphia where fans threw batteries and snowballs at Santa Claus. We've seen teams throw jerseys onto the ice as a way of protesting the direction of the team. But you're the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you are 4-1-1, and you are throwing a jersey onto the ice. Get all the way out of here. If I'm Leon Draisaitl, I probably pick that jersey up, maybe stomp on it, maybe bring it back to the locker room, maybe find another fan wearing a Pittsburgh jersey to give it to and say, hey, you get to wear this jersey instead. But that fan should be absolutely ashamed and embarrassed of themselves for throwing a jersey onto the ice. And the hockey gods don't look kindly on that. I mean, Pittsburgh, go lose 10 in a row now for that. If that's the type of behavior you're going to get from your fan base, there is no reason this team should keep winning. It's shameful. It's a disgrace. Don't throw jerseys onto the ice. Come on now.
I could not agree more.
Yeah, I had a sense you would.
I despise the whole throwing your jersey onto the. I don't even care if you are a Maple Leafs fan who has been tortured and tormented in first-round playoff losses for 800,000 years. Like, I don't care if you are I don't care if you're where we're at right now. If I see a Hawks fan do that, get the hell out of the madhouse. You don't belong there. And quite frankly, normally I say, no, please. Like, we welcome fair weather fans because you want the more fans, the more money for your team, the more money they can spend on getting better. That type of fan, get the hell out. We never wanted you in the first place. You don't. Now, again, two different things here. throwing a jersey or like in disgust of, your team losing even at 0-4, but 4-1.
How many jerseys did Sabres fans throw onto the ice during their 18-game losing streak?
Exactly.
I didn't recall seeing one. Now, I don't know if there was.
There were brown bags being worn, but that's just funny.
Yeah, that's fine. That's funny. Because again, you're there, but you're showing like, hey, get your what together.
Yeah, but
in short order.
Yeah, you're there. It was a protest that could make a difference. Throwing a jersey onto the ice, and I saw Draisaitl like tossed it back, which if he was close enough, I would have like balled it up and actually whipped it back. But
I would have given it to Crosby. Now that I think about it, I would have skated over to the Penguins bench and said, "Hey, your fan just threw this onto the ice. Your call for what you want to do with it." That's probably the better way to handle it.
Was it a Crosby jersey? Could we tell?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Right. But especially if it's a Crosby jersey.
Right? Like that dude brought you 3 Stanley Cups and is one of the best players to ever play in the league, as much as I don't really like him that much. Actually, I like him now. He got a lot better. He's less of a bitch now. Like, look, I'm going to say, personally, I'm not that surprised because aside from certain sports teams, East Coast fans don't surprise me by doing shit like that.
I'm going to ask
however,
question.
I've never seen Flyers fans do shit like that. I've always thought Pittsburgh fans were much worse.
Do you think it has anything to do with the Phillies being in the World Series and Pittsburgh fans are so disgusted at the success that Philadelphia is having? The Eagles are undefeated. The Phillies are in the World Series. The Flyers are playing above expectations. The 76ers are a team that's expected to compete in the Eastern Conference this year.
Right.
Is that maybe a Pittsburgh fan who's just absolutely sick of seeing how good things are in Philly right now?
I mean, yeah, that probably has a little bit to it because the Steelers are terrible. The Pirates have been terrible for probably the last 30 years. No,
but I mean, not quite, but kind of.
I know. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's part of it, but at the same time, like, if you go in that section of it, like think of a city that has 2 teams. Like I wasn't throwing a hissy fit when the Cubs were being terrible last year and the Sox were contending, and killing it in their, their league, right? Like I'm not, it's just petty, right? Like it's petty.
It's so dumb.
Also, and then that's the like fan side of it. But then, like you said, just throwing shit in general at players on the field, like screw you. I don't care how drunk or sober you are. I don't care how angry you are. Like, we're passionate sports fans, but it's a goddamn game. Settle down. Yesterday, mm-hmm. I know you didn't get a chance to watch Monday Night Football. After one of the 3 interceptions, after the Bears beat that ass of the Patriots.
I knew you were going to mention it at some point.
You're damn right I was going to mention it. One of the front row fans after I can't remember if it was after a touchdown or one of the interceptions and like the team ran to the end zone to like celebrate and just, kind of have a little fun with the fans. They were throwing their drinks at them. I'm like, yeah, real classy Boston. I'm not surprised anything like that from Boston doesn't surprise me in the slightest, but it just, I don't know, man.
Don't throw stuff unless it's a hat or a teddy bear. And it's got to be a very specific situation for that hat to be on the ice.
Or, even though they were our rivals, I'm okay with throwing squids. Or
catfish?
Octopus. No, the Red Wings.
No, I'm saying catfish too, down in Nashville.
Nah, screw Nashville.
Throwing the rats onto the ice in Florida.
That's fine. Nashville was just trying to copy Detroit. But yes, so we both got our own rants in on that because we both are on the exact same side of the fence of that argument.
Yeah,
it's shit. It's shit. Don't do it.
That is it for our show tonight. Thank you to everybody who tuned in live. Thank you for our comments throughout the show as well. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. We're on Twitter at PodSnipeCelly, and on Facebook, you can search the same term there. We are live Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central, brought to you by Noop Sports and the Sports 2.0 Network. We will be back the same time next week, right?
Oh,
unless you're caught up in traffic again.
No, we should be fine. This was kind of an anomaly.
Yeah, a little bit. So, but all is good. Glad you're all right. That was a fun show. Thank you to everybody who joined us. He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy your night, everybody.
Bye now.